Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all okay. Look who's here. Our little baby boy has been born. His name is Roman, and I'm going to talk to you today just a little bit about my my birth experience, a little bit about Roman and myself, how we've been doing, and just give you a general update on everything. So yeah, Roman is 4 weeks old today, and he was born on the 17th of January at 5:22 p.m. in the afternoon, after just over a 9-hour labour in total, and I managed to have a VBAC, which is amazing. It was what I wanted. And I couldn't be more proud that I actually achieved it, considering my last birth with Quinn. A bit of back history is she was born via emergency C-section, as my body just failed to progress with the labour. I didn't get even past 5 centimetres even after 25 hours of labour. My body just didn't progress, and she had abnormal heart rate as well, so I had an emergency C-section with Quinn. So I knew I wanted to try for a vaginal birth this time with Roman, which I managed. Although it was an assisted delivery, in the end things got a little bit dramatic right at the very end, but I'll just briefly go over my birth story, otherwise I'll probably end up waffling way too much and I'll run out of memory, and then it's going to be such a long video. But yeah, so he was born on the 17th of January. I went into labour at 8:30 in the morning. My contractions started off very irregular, very much like strong period pains. They were sort of anything between 5 to 10 minutes to 20 minutes for the first couple of hours. So I managed to kind of go about my business during like the morning, just using my up breathing. I did a hypnobirthing course with the Positive Birth Company, which I highly recommend. It's amazing tools. I mean, even if you don't get to have your birth plan that you want, it still provides you with the tools to keep yourself calm and relaxed and focused. And like the breathing techniques really help, which you can use in any situation, no matter how your birth pans out. So I owe so much to the Positive Birth Company for that, because although I didn't get the hypnobirth experience that I wanted, I did get my VBAC. Although it was assisted, my mind was calm. I knew what was going on around me. I was focused. I didn't panic. It was amazing, and I think I owe that to the Positive Birth Company for giving me the techniques and the tools to be able to kind of get through the whole situation. But yeah, so the first couple of hours I managed to get through the contractions with my up breathing. My husband had actually gone to work during that morning, but I called him home. He went to work about 8:30, just as my contractions were starting, but I said to him, no, go to work. It could be a couple of hours yet. He was only going to be at work for an hour or two anyway. He's a personal trainer. So he went off to work. My mother-in-law was with us because she's with her support bubble, because she lives on her own during the pandemic, so she was here with me anyway. And so yeah, I carried on about my business at home, breathed through them, but by about 10:30 in the morning they were getting quite strong and coming closer together, sort of anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes. Some were 3 minutes, some were 5 minutes, some were 6 minutes. They were still like a bit erratic, but they were closer together. So I think at that point, it actually, like the app that I was using, the Freya app, which is part of the Positive Birth Company, told me I was in established labour. So I called ahead to the consultant unit just to say, you know, things are happening. I'm going to be coming in at some point. And they said, if you can cope at home, then stay at home if you're breathing through them. And they said, you're talking to us, so it sounds like you're coping okay. Take some paracetamol, have a bath, all of that stuff, and then just come in when you're starting to struggle. So I did. I stayed at home, but it was only another hour after that that they really started to ramp up, and I was starting to struggle and focus on the breathing. So I called my husband home from work, and he came home because I said, I want to go in. I want to get assessed now. I think things are ramping up a little bit, so I wanted to get checked over. So he came home, and my mother-in-law went home, and we sent Quinn, our daughter, to my mum's house, so that she was taken care of. We got to the hospital about 11:30, and they took us in straight away into a room, which was amazing because it meant that my husband could stay with me and I didn't have to go through anything on my own. And they examined me, and I was only 2 centimetres, which was a little bit disheartening, knowing that the app was telling me, based on my contractions, I was in established labour, but my cervix obviously had different ideas, and was only 2 centimetres, which was a little bit disheartening. And I knew at that point that I'd start probably going into a red zone of panic, and not cope at all. So I'd asked for an epidural. My birth plan was very, very open-minded. It was originally, I didn't want assisted delivery. I would like to have a water birth if possible. What else was on there? I wanted to be upright, forward and open for the birth, and all of this stuff that they say helps with a good birth experience. All of that went out of the window, and the only thing I did achieve was the VBAC, which was my main objective. So I'm more than happy with that. But I was very, very open-minded. I knew if things would change, or I was quite open for them to change, should I say. So yeah, I'd asked for an epidural, but the anaesthetist was busy with other people, so the midwife gave me some gas and air, which was lovely. There's a nice sense of calm when you come out of a contraction and you've got the gas and air going, and it's just like everything kind of goes really chill for a bit, which I really enjoyed that. But by about lunchtime, I think it was, I can't really remember the times of things, because I remember looking at the clock and trying to mentally make notes of things, and like the times things were happening, but it didn't. It's all gone from my head. But it must have been about lunchtime-ish that the midwife examined me again, and I was 5 centimetres, which was amazing in itself, because I didn't even get past that when I was pregnant with Quinn. And the anaesthetist came in at that point and gave me the epidural, which couldn't have been a better timing, because by this point the contractions had changed. I felt like they had changed and were getting quite strong. So I thought I must be in established labour at this point, because the pain that I was... The midwife had said to me, you'll know when you're in established labour because you'll feel the contractions all over your tummy, whereas I didn't. I felt them. They were still very low, like where you would expect to feel period pain, but it was all in my bum, which was awful, and possibly obviously had something to do with the position that Roman was laying in, but it felt like my bum wanted to explode. The pressure feeling, it literally felt like everything was going to fall out of my arse. It was horrendous, and I remember every time I had got to the peak of a contraction, like I would kind of levitate off the bed, and I was screaming at this point and begging for the epidural. It was awful. So it kind of timed quite nicely, because the anaesthetist came in and gave me the epidural, which meant I could relax again and like regain my calm and focus, which was one of my main things that I wanted, because with Quinn I had an emergency cesarean under general anaesthetic, so I was completely out of it. I'd had all the drugs with Quinn. I'd had gas and air, pethidine. I then had an epidural, and then I had a general anaesthetic for the operation. So I was completely out of it. I didn't have a clue what was going on, and I wanted to know what was going on this time. So I think that's why I was very open to my birth plan changing. So yeah, the epidural kicked in and everything was all nice and calm. I managed to have a bit of toast. I wasn't really very hungry. I hadn't eaten anything since breakfast, but I did manage to eat a little bit of toast. I did enjoy the cups of tea though. And then it must have been about, can't remember what time was it, right at the end, so probably about 4:30ish. Midwife checked us, like the monitor, like the heart rate monitor, and said that his heart rate looked a little bit erratic and he was possibly going into distress. So she went and got a second opinion, and another midwife came in and checked it, and they said, yeah, we'll call the doctors in. And then it went all a little bit panicked from there, and I had about 6 or 7 doctors and midwives all around me and said, your baby's in distress, we need to get him out very, very quickly. We're not liking what we're seeing. So they came in with some scan equipment. I think they wanted to check the blood flow in the cord to make sure that was all okay. So they scanned me and they said, right, we need to get him out. You can either do it, knowing my birth plan that I wanted to have a VBAC, you can either try by yourself with some assistance, or we're going to have to take you to theatre for a forceps delivery, and failing that you'll go into surgery for a cesarean. I was like, no, I want to try and get him out myself. That was my main preference. So it's like, right, you've got 10 minutes to get this baby out. So I was like, okay. I still had the epidural in at this point, so I was like, I don't really feel the contraction, so I'm not really sure how I'm going to know when to push. But once I gave them the go ahead, like I wanted to do it, try and do it myself. My legs were then flung up in stirrups. Everything started to get a little bit panicked around me. I remained very calm, but I could see that the doctors and the midwives were like, this baby needs to come out and he needs to come out now. So my legs were thrown up into stirrups, and like the consultant said, the only person that you need to focus on is your midwife. She's going to tell you when to push. She's going to tell you when you've got a contraction, and I want you to push with everything that you've got and get this baby out. You've got 10 minutes. So midwife told me, she was amazing. I loved my midwife. I couldn't be more thankful to her. She kind of coached me through the contractions, and I had my husband on one side, the midwife on the other side, and literally pushed with everything that I had, and like remembering my up breathing to try and, you know, push down. And within 3 contractions he was out. They'd cut me, and I remember John saying that he didn't, normally when you see like the head come out and then you wait for the next contraction to push the rest of the baby out, he said no, he just came flying out. It was almost like he knew he was in distress and was like, right mum, I've had enough, I'm coming out now. But yeah, he said he literally just flew out. It was just so quick, and even the midwives said that he was coming down so quickly, which was good for them because they wanted him out really quickly. So yeah, he was born at 5:22 in the afternoon by the time we got to that point, and he was placed on my chest, which was amazing, and so emotional as well. I just remember crying and thanking everybody, and I just couldn't believe that it had actually happened. When they'd said to me that you was 10 centimetres and we're getting this baby out now, I think my husband and I looked at each other in complete shock that my body had actually laboured to 10 centimetres. I think maybe a small part of us just didn't believe it would actually happen, but it did, and I was so proud of myself. I was so emotional. But they put him on my chest and cleaned him all up, and John didn't want to cut the cord, which was fine, so they did that. And then they gave me the injection to birth the placenta, and then it went a little bit dramatic after that. They'd cut me as well. They gave me an episiotomy, possibly because he came out so quickly and everything was happening so quick, they had to cut me rather than wait for everything to stretch out as he was making his way down. But yeah, they'd cut me. Once the placenta came out, it got a bit hectic again because I hemorrhaged quite badly. So they were really frantically trying to stop the bleeding, and they said it was because everything happened so quick, that's why I'd hemorrhaged. So they was like not only trying to stitch me up from the episiotomy, but trying to they had gauze, and they were rummaging around inside me vagina, trying to stop the bleeding, which they did. It felt like it took them a good long while to do that. But I just I had him on my chest and was feeding him, and just stayed focused and just still kept crying, thanking everybody at the same time. Thank you so much. But yeah, and then after they'd sorted me out and stitched me up and cleaned me all up and a little bit, I then remember feeling really, really sick and really, really weak. So I said to John, can you take Roman? I don't feel very well. And they said that I was tachycardic. My heart rate was just all over the place, really high. And I remember just passing Roman to John and asking for a sick bowl because I felt really sick. And I threw up in the bowl and just went to sleep. I just kept dozing off into sleep. So they kind of just left me. They gave me some anti-sickness medication, and I think they gave me something else as well, but I can't remember what it was, via an injection. And it took me probably about a half hour or so for me to come round and feel a little bit better, so that I could take Roman back and have that time with him. So yeah, they kept me in the room for a while longer because they wanted to keep check on my heart rate, and they'd said that I'd need to, because I'd lost so much blood. It was like a bloodbath in there. I remember looking around the room and there was just blood everywhere. I thought, oh my god, this can't be good. But they said because I'd lost so much blood, I'd need to go up onto the ward to recover and rest, and so they could keep an eye on me, I guess. So it was nothing to do with Roman. He was absolutely fine. It was me they needed to keep an eye on because of the blood loss that I'd had. So yeah, they sent me up to the ward for 2 days to recover, which wasn't too bad. The midwives were absolutely amazing, and they really have stepped up their game during the pandemic. They have literally become your right arm and your partner, for the women in there, obviously not being able to have their partners with them. I could not fault the care that I had. They were absolutely fantastic, even to the point where I passed out in the shower. I pushed myself too quickly to go and have a shower, to be honest. I went and had a shower and passed out. 1 minute I was sitting on the chair trying to shower myself, and the next minute I was underneath the chair with loads of doctors, or midwives, sorry, loads of midwives around me. So yeah, don't push yourself to go and have a shower. Really don't do that. But yeah, so I'd spent 2 days on the ward, but yeah, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. I was expecting it to be horrendous, and I'd be stressed and crying and wouldn't be able to do anything. But they were amazing. I couldn't fault them. So massive thanks to the midwives at our hospital. So yeah, so that was 4 weeks ago. He's 4 weeks today, and he's doing absolutely amazing. We are now solely on bottle feeding for formula. He's such a hungry boy. He was born at £8.5. He's now £10.2. I weighed him 2 days ago. He was £10.2, and he's such a hungry baby that we stopped breastfeeding after about a week and a half, which is fine. I'm happy with that. I didn't get to breastfeed Quinn, and I'm more than happy with the experience of breastfeeding that I had with Roman. But we were finding that he just wasn't getting enough from me. He was feeding for a good half an hour to 45 minutes and still be hungry, and obviously that was taking both boobs. So we were finding we were topping him up with formula at most feeds, because he just wasn't getting enough, and because then by that point you're doing bottles and breast, they're going to choose their preference, and his preference was bottles, which is fine. But he's doing absolutely amazing. He's growing really well. He's almost out of first size clothing now, so he's £10.2, but we think he might have some form of allergy to cow's milk. We've been referred to a dietitian to check for cow's milk allergy. We do have dairy intolerances as a family history on John's side of the family anyway. So, and Quinn was dairy intolerant when she was younger. But yeah, we're noticing signs in him which leads us to believe that he could potentially have cow's milk allergy, so we're checking him for that. But he's taking anywhere between 3 to 5 ounces every 2 to 3 hours. So he is a hungry boy, but he's amazing. He does suffer with his wind though, which is something else that was leading us to think that he might have cow's milk allergy. But yeah, he's doing amazing, and his big sister is absolutely in love with him. She doesn't leave him alone. He's got lovely dark hair. Quinn was completely bald when she was born, but he's got dark hair, which surprised us because we were all blonde as babies. What else? That's about it for the birth and for Roman, really. He sleeps really well. If he's not feeding, he's generally sleeping. He's getting to a point now that he's 4 weeks. He's having a bit more awake time, so we're kind of talking to him and playing with him and trying to get him to smile. And he doesn't like tummy time at the moment, but I don't think Quinn did at his age. I think it took her a while to get used to tummy time, but he's a very strong boy. I think even from the day he was born, he was like pulling his head back. He's a strong boy. What else? He looks exactly like his sister. If you see pictures of his sister when she was a baby, they are exactly the spitting image. But I'll see if I can show you him more without waking him up. There he is. He's just precious. I'm obsessed with his head. Just constantly stroking and kissing his head. I think it's the hair. I'm just fascinated that he's actually got hair and it's dark. But yeah, that's about it for him. For me, I followed my episiotomy. That was quite painful, to be honest. I mean, 4 weeks on now, I don't barely feel it. I do sometimes feel the wound there, but generally I'm pretty much pain-free now. I'm walking around normally and doing things as normal now. Obviously I've still got to wait another couple of weeks to get the all clear from the doctor before I can exercise or do anything like that, which I'm really looking forward to. I really want to get back into my yoga properly. But the recovery, although it was painful, it wasn't too bad. I mean, the first week definitely it was horrendous, and I think I really struggled with that because there were times when just walking felt like my stitches were going to rip open, or sitting down was really uncomfortable. I'd have to kind of, because they didn't cut me straight down, they cut me at an angle, sort of like going to my right. They cut me like on the right diagonal. So I was finding the only way I could sit relatively comfortably was on my left bum cheek at an angle. And then I say there were times where every single movement that I made, it just felt like they were going to rip open. It was not very nice, but you know, you keep on top of your pain relief. It's like paracetamol, ibuprofen. I had the stitches checked quite a few times every time the midwife or the health visitor came, no, it was just the midwife that checks them actually. Every time she came, she checks them for me, and she said no, they're absolutely fine. So I tried. There was a couple of extra things I did actually to help with the healing. I had the bottoms up spray from the I can't remember what it's called actually, but they do the same like spritz for bits and bottoms up and things like that. So I got the bottoms up one, which you can use for episiotomy stitches, hemorrhoids, which was a problem as well because I was quite bad hemorrhoids from the birth. So not only was I in pain in my vagina for sitting down, I was also in pain in my backside as well because I had such bad hemorrhoids. And so yeah, it was fun. It was going on in all the areas down there. So yeah, it was creams for that and sprays for the episiotomy stitches, what else did I try? I did do a sitz bath a couple of times, just like dip, because they told me not to bath or to have a prolonged bath, so I kind of generally stuck with showers. I still am generally having showers, but they said to like have a salt bath, so I just put loads of salt in, just probably about that much water, and just sit in it for a few minutes, because the salt would help heal. And then just lay on the bed every so often, just completely naked from the waist down, and just let everything dry and air out for 10 minutes, and that definitely helped. But I think it probably wasn't until I was almost 2 weeks postpartum that I started to feel a little bit better, and I was able to walk a bit better, and then started going out for little walks, because even if you feel okay, or even if I felt okay during the day sort of up to 2 weeks, I think, oh yeah, I'm not feeling that much pain, so you'd get up and do stuff, but then by the end of the day it then all catches up with you. You then just feel a bit more bruised, so really do listen to your body and not try and push it too much. But yeah, it's pretty much there now, so I've got probably another 2 weeks before I can get signed off from the doctors, and hopefully get the stitches checked again, and hopefully they're all dissolved, and it'll just be hopefully getting back to normal, like, so to speak. But yeah, other than that, my postpartum recovery has been okay, really. Probably a little bit more complicated than when I had my cesarean with Quinn, because that was just a case of having the surgery and coming home, where so I just had to change my memory card because I'm waffling way too much. But yeah, say the recovery for my C-section had probably been a little bit less complicated from this one, because I did pass a clot as well, so I had to go and get that checked out. But yeah, I'm feeling good, we're feeling well, we're getting some good sleep in, and he's doing really well. So yeah, we're just enjoying our little newborn bubble at the moment. It's quite hard being in lockdown with a newborn, not being able to share him with anybody, and just like show him off at the doorstep to family and friends, which is quite hard. But you know, it is what it is, and you know, we're doing what we can to get by in the pandemic. But it's definitely been an experience being pregnant during a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, and giving birth in a worldwide pandemic. It's certainly something to remember. But yeah, we're all happy and we're healthy, and I can't wait to watch this little man grow, because he's just amazing. And I still can't believe I actually managed to birth the baby out of my vagina. Still in shock about that. I look at him and go, how did I do that? But yeah, we're so over the moon about our birth experience. Although I didn't get the birth that I had for preference, I still think that it's been a massive positive experience for all of us, and I'm much happier this time. I did suffer with my mental health with Quinn afterwards, but yeah, we're just so happy that he's here and he's healthy, and he's our little rainbow baby as well. So we couldn't be happier, being a family of 4. But that's probably about it. I've probably waffled on long enough and probably said far too many ums and ahs, but there you go. That's what I do when I'm trying to remember memories. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video, and from me and from Roman, we will see you again soon. Bye.